Okay, this will be a shorter video, but this is very, very interesting because this will allow you, even if you don't have, you know, macro knowledge about the economy, that will allow you to expect some movement of the price. Okay, so we are on Forex Factory. Some people use a lot of other platforms. I like to keep it simple. So here's what I do. I just check at what time, what day will be the news release. During news, I do not have a trade open, I do not trade, or if I have a trade open, I would look at my trade, manage my trade. If it's too close from certain areas, I might close the trade, or I might move my stop loss to break even, or I might just leave the trade because the price is at a good level and I expect it to continue going there. However, when you are having these kinds of news with high impact, or let's say GBP, if you're talking Forex, let's say CAD, let's say USD, and I'm gonna give you example on Euro USD as well. You wanna be careful on how you trade. This over a long-term period or a medium-term period will tell you a lot. So if you're a swing trader, that matters to you, the number matters to you. If you're an investor, or if you're a person that is using Euro USD or currencies in general for other purposes in a long-term view, the released number is very important. However, if you're a day trader, the only thing you care about is going to be that short-term movement of the price, and you want to look at the short-term impact of that news release. Okay, so the number doesn't really matter to you. You just want to be careful of not entering your trade as a day trader in a lower time frame before the news release, because that can just take you out for no reason. So what you want to do is trade around the news release, because this is when you'll find activity, um, and take advantage of that. So let's take an example right there, right? So we are this is Tuesday 5th, right? This was last week basically. So we're on August 4. We don't have much um, things, no much releases. Maybe CHF, but CHF is not like a very high impact currency. And what I'm talking about, very high impact currency. So basically, a CHF CPI release would make the CHF move, right? The price of the CHF move. So any pairs that are CHF related would be impacted. However, when you have some kind of releases like this based on USD, that is a very high impact currency in and what that means that when you have a USD release that is important, it might impact USD, but it might also impact other currencies, even though they're not directly related with USD, right? So we are here. So we have August 4, Monday, August 5th, Tuesday, Wednesday, not much. We have a lot, actually, Thursday on releases, and Friday CAD USD. So what interests me is, let's say I have a USD PMI release at 50.01 and worse than expected, but still above the 50 threshold, which is positive no matter what people say. And we go on Euro USD and we'll go on, it was the 5th. So we'll go on the 5th. So yeah, this here, there you go. That's the 5th. So let me just say this so you can see. So that's the 4th, that's the 5th, and then you see a push to the upside the next day. So you see a push to the upside at the open of the market of New York. There's a push in the upside, and that was around, okay, that was around 6 p.m. You got final PMI positive, positive. All these stuffs are positive. This is kind of negative, um, regarding the expectations that analysts had, and the dynamic. So there's also the dynamic that you need to know regarding geopolitics and economy that would help you a lot. You don't necessarily need it, but if you know it, it's even better because you have an edge over people. So let's say we all know what's going on with USD, right? We all know what's going on with crypto, even if it's just a little bit. You don't need to be an expert, but we know that USD is losing value, right? So we have big pushes sustaining. It's not really retracing to the downside. And what we have here is basically a push to the upside, right? Why? Because USD got a hit. So because it's Euro USD, when USD get weaker, Euro USD pair has um, a stronger value basically. So it's gonna go to the upside. The more USD weaknesses grow, the more Euro USD pair strength grows. Okay? It's inversed. You need to understand that. So we have a push to the upside, and we know that whole dynamic, so we can take advantage of this push, for example. On top of that, we had a previous push here that was 1st of August. So let's see if that push has a purpose. What I mean by purpose is basically a news release or something that actually changed the mind of people regarding the value of USD or Euro, and in general Euro USD. So we go to the first and we see that we had here, look, very very big news releases at this time, and these kind of seem negative because the PMI is below the 50 threshold. This is worse than expected, and then you got non-farm employment change, um, and that's way 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 worse than expected there. Even though the previous was negative, but the forecast was kind of positive, and the actual is less than the forecast, which might create a surprise in the investors' world or minds. Even though here you have no change, but this might have been important for them, for the investors, the big players, and the PMI as well. So guess what happened? USD took a hit. Euro USD had a big bullish candle here, didn't move. You had another release, kind of kind of 1 week later. Sorry. Um, you have a big push here with another release on USD. And because this has purpose, because this was backed by economic results, by economic numbers and releases, you have here a push to the upside that is sustaining. So that's what you can take advantage of. Okay, and because you know exactly that institutions, that other players in the industry might be more educated than retail traders in general, when you see pushes like this that are sustaining, that means that these people are making it sustain. So they have to reach another consensus price, the fair value of a certain asset like Euro USD needs to be reached. And if there's a new release regarding a certain asset, directly or indirectly, and this makes the fair value of that asset change, you'll see that the market will have to move towards that fair value, right? Because people will move towards that fair value. So let's say this became the fair value, right? Because you see the price hovering around these prices, and maybe market participants were happy with these prices. And then you had another release that pushed the price to the upside. So you could expect this bullish move, and you could have taken advantage of it. And we were the sixth, right? And then we had a push to the downside, and people might be asking themselves, why really? So let's see if we have any news around the 11th and the 12th. So we might have to move to the next week and to the next week, right? So this is this week. And this week, what we have here, so the 11th, we had not really something important. Well, that might have been important here, but that's fine. That's okay. People don't take that guy seriously anymore. And here you have the 11th Tuesday. So there you go. And here you got releases. Releases that are kind of negative regarding the expectations. And then you got CPI that didn't really move. So that didn't really, that wouldn't be important if you look at it like that. But when you look at the impact of the price and you see that push to the downside, meaning people want to reach back to that fair value, but the market doesn't let them because all the releases keep getting negative for USD, you see that price keep pushing to the upside. Okay, now that you have the combination of understanding who is in the market and who's making a price move, and you understand how to read the economic calendar and make the relationship between both, and understanding the reason why the price is moving to the upside or the downside, you have a powerful knowledge, powerful basis that you can even grow more and more and strengthened by practicing, by reading more, by getting more informed of what's happening around the world, so you can build that ecosystem in your mind, that whole understanding of society's dynamic and its impact in the price of the asset you are trading, right? So this builds, these two videos, the one of yesterday and the one of today, these two videos build a very strong basis for us to start understanding and working on the chart directly. So you won't get confused when I'm going to talk about point of interest. That means institutions and big boys that are interested in certain levels of the price. This is why, for example, the price will start hovering around here. This is why the price will never go higher than here and then at some point it's going to breach it, or will never go lower than these prices and at some point it might breach it. And people call that support and resistance, but these are basically supply and demand levels. This is all economics displayed into a chart basically. So for just for the sake of simplicity of looking at the price movement, this is why the charts exist. So even without the chart, even with just tapes, you should be able to understand what's going on in the market, because you are not reading candlestick, you are reading prices, and you need to understand that. And this is very important. So let's jump into the next video and I'll see you tomorrow.